to the nerd node. So I'm on my fourth interview now. It's going to be a rather exciting one because I'm a big Star Wars junkie. And this gentleman right here's first podcast is involving Star Wars, so I'm very pumped to get him on here talking about it. So, what the big thing is, it's Dice Clash Chronicles, and this is Judah Lag. So, if you just want to do a little intro, so we can kind of get to know you a little bit here before we get to talking.
Yeah, of course. Hey, everybody, this is Judah Lag, the owner of Dice Clash Chronicles and producer of the Galactic Pursuit Shadows of the Force podcast. And I'm coming on to Eric's channel today to talk about everything Star Wars and everything about my podcast, trying to get a good scope of what we're about.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're definitely excited to learn and kind of just get an idea of what everything is about. So with that, are you the sole person with Dice Clash, and then you just have people for the podcast, or was there a couple of you that came up with the network idea of the Dice Clash Chronicles?
So it's a little bit weird. I pretty much own everything, but I always go to my players for help. Like, hey, is this a cool idea? Because their names are also on a lot of the branding, so like they're presented in almost every episode, and I promote their names on the Instagram and stuff. So like, although like none of us are getting paid right now, I still try to like make them a big part of my show. Like shouting out their names when I do Instagram posts and stuff like that. So there's about 9 of us, including me, I think. And yeah, so like like every time I create a logo, I'll send it to them and say, hey, does this look cool? Or every time I create a TikTok video, I'll send it to them in the group chat and say, hey, does this sound funny? Or does this kind of catch your attention?
Oh, that's nice. It's like a big group of advisors almost, in a sense, to just kind of help you out. So it's never just you pulling the trigger on stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so not only are they my cast members, but they also help me out with a lot of the sourcing and ideas.
Nice. So what sparked the Star Wars idea to be your first podcast with this new network?
Well, I've just always enjoyed Star Wars. I mean, I can't even remember like when I first started getting into Star Wars, because it's just always been a part of me. I've always loved everything Star Wars. And when I got the idea to do a podcast, I was like, well, why don't I just make it Star Wars? Because that's like my biggest source of knowledge. Like I have a huge lore book full of Star Wars in my head. So making a Star Wars podcast would just like come naturally to me. I get all these ideas on how to design spaceships in space stations, and the story just comes naturally because I not really piggyback, but I use the original trilogy as kind of a skeleton of where I need to go, the direction.
Oh, nice. I will say I'm kind of one of those people. I did enjoy the original 3 better than all the others, but I didn't hate any of the other ones. I liked them all. I've just always been a big Luke guy.
I mean, for me, I don't know. I like the original trilogy for like the nostalgia, and I like the prequels for the story, but I couldn't say which one's my favorite. I enjoy them pretty equally, but for like different reasons.
No, that's cool. That's definitely. I mean, it's good. It's good to be open-minded. I find sometimes with Star Wars, you can get some people get sort of close-minded with things. I'm sure you've seen it a lot, and you might even see it just amongst your cast members too when you're doing it.
Oh, for sure. For sure, yeah. I have one of my cast members sometimes just to like get outside of the business area. We'll just do like regular one-shots or stories in the Star Wars universe, and one of my players is actually like a Geonosian, so he's like actively against everyone else in the party, and it's so funny to like see him interact with everyone else, because everyone else is like anti-Geonosian, anti-separatist, and he's like pro-separatist because he's literally coming straight off the Geonosian planet.
Nice. Kind of keep on with the podcast idea. So with the Dice Clash Chronicles being your network, and Star Wars is your first game slash podcast type thing that you guys are doing. Um, what have you thought at all about the other shows or anything like that? Or um are you gonna have a different, how do I put it, like a different link per show? Is that how you guys are gonna be setting it up? Or are you just gonna continuously, like, once Star Wars is done, then you'll move on to another one?
Well, with my current profile on Acast, I can set up multiple podcasts. So I actually plan on doing a behind the scenes, which will be just like the cast and I chilling out, talking about the episode, like what our favorite parts were and stuff, and talking about the future, and maybe even getting into Star Wars or D&D topics and going into that realm. It'll just be kind of like a relaxed session, but I also plan on doing other stuff too. Like I have 3 ideas bubbling in my head for the next season. Like the conclusion or after the conclusion of the Jedi and the Bounty Hunters. I mean, we got to have another story. So I've already got 3 brewing in my head, and one I'm thinking about doing in another Star Wars, and one in like Warhammer 40K.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, 40K is kind of, I think it's catching a lot of traction ever since Henry Cavill kind of said something.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely picked up a little bit because of that. But no, that's definitely cool. That's looking at different things, not just sticking with the same thing. So you mentioned you have bounty hunters and Jedi in this Star Wars. Are they like competing against each other in a sense, or how's the game running out right now?
Yeah, so like that's kind of like the core of our whole network is I really want every season or every setting to be one team versus another team. So, yes, in our current podcast, Galactic Pursuit Shadows of the Force, the Jedis have just escaped a prison, and the bounty hunters have been tasked with hunting them down. So, like every episode, you see both perspectives. You see the Jedi's perspective, and you see the bounty hunter's perspective. The Jedi's trying to evade the stormtroopers, and the bounty hunters picking up their tracks and following behind them closely.
That's a pretty cool idea. I haven't played. I've played off and on like different tabletop games and stuff like that throughout the years, but I've never thought of an idea like that. Like there's always been, I've seen it where in the party they do like one person's actually working against everybody and nobody knows it.
Mm-hmm.
But to actively have 2 different teams, it's kind of a cool idea for the whole setup. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be hard to do, I would think, just because you got them in the same room so everybody can hear what they're doing.
Yeah, it's always been an idea that dungeon masters toy with. Like every like long-term dungeon master, you'll ask them like, "Have you ever thought about putting the party against each other?" And they'll probably tell you, "Yeah, I have," but it's just too scary of an idea. And like I was thinking about it, and I was like, if I really structure it out well, we could actually make this work. And that's kind of like the whole podcast is technically like just a one big experiment to see if we can actually come through with it and see if we can actually do this and to show other dungeon masters that this is possible. You can have this epic of 2 completely different parties combining together to fight each other.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely, I gotta jump on the bandwagon. I started with session 0, but I gotta start looking at listening to some of the other episodes because I'm curious as to how it's gonna play out. Now, I'll be very honest with you. I'm one of those people. Usually, I wait until something's done. I don't
Mm-hmm.
always like watch an episode because I have, I don't know, it's the new age in me because of Netflix and stuff like that. I just want all my content at once. I no longer enjoy waiting. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of just, yeah, I just wait till it's all out. Once it's all out, I'll jump in and kind of get through it. But it's going to be an interesting concept.
Oh yeah, and like the first episode's a little bit relaxed, like we're just kind of getting to know all the players and stuff. But after that, it just like jumps up in what's the word I'm looking for? Just craziness, I could say. Like the bounty hunters are like constantly getting into trouble. The Jedi's are just like I guess doing the same exact thing, also getting in trouble. Like they're not staying as low as I thought they would. And it's so funny to see it play out because you'll see the Jedi's do their thing, and then one of them accidentally uses their real name, in a hotel. And then the bounty hunters get a message like, "Hey, why aren't you guys here? We just got a notification like um, one of the Jedi have just been spotted using their own name in a hotel." And they're like, "Oh, we're off smoking death sticks." So it's just like already getting like so exciting, like every single episode.
That's so cool. One of the things I noticed on like your Instagram and stuff like that too, and you all did it for us. Like we gave a shout out during one of our episodes on Crossing, is your fan interaction. You definitely have a lot of content there to try to pull fans in and get them more involved. You created a character based on our name that was pretty cool. What gave you the idea to have like sort of the fan interaction and creating the NPCs like that?
Well, as a dungeon master, I've always enjoyed the process of creating things. I've always enjoyed the process of creating player characters, NPCs, story settings. And not only do I want to give other people the opportunity to join in on that, but I also want to like showcase other people's stuff on our platform.
Yeah, no, collabing is huge. I agree there. Getting other podcasts and then fans involved, just you get that onus there. It's almost like they're part of it. So yeah, it definitely will
Mm-hmm.
it'll get a lot more people involved and enjoying your show.
Mm-hmm.
For
And
sure.
it originally started on my Patreon. I wanted to make it as a Patreon special, which it still is too. But I wanted to be able to get the idea out there because no one's really like touched on this idea a lot. I've heard some podcasts do it, but not a lot of people in the D&D podcast community actually know about it. So to get it out there, I've been promoting it really hard on my TikTok and Instagram, giving it away for free, I should say.
Yeah, no, I've seen it on a few. It's not a super popular idea. Um, so yeah, it's nice to see, and the way you did it is a little bit different too. Because you designed the whole character out. I haven't seen that done as much. Usually, it's like a name, race, class type thing, but you actually went a little bit above that. So it was cool. It was cool to see, and some much appreciated with the call out too. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you always got to be prepared. You never know what's going to happen in your story. Like I created these, like these NPCs are part of my fans. Like they're for me to get fan interaction and to help our fans have more interaction with our show. But at the same time, like you were saying, like I went above and beyond. You never know when your players are going to be like, all right, who is this guy? And you're like, oh man, I did not I did not write anything for this guy. He's literally just a bare bones character. So from like now on, every time I write, I make sure to put just a little bit of lore or detail or a skeleton to make sure I don't get blindsided by my players.
yeah, players will have that effect on you for sure. They come out of the woodwork sometimes with different things depending on what your NPCs look like.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it when a player gets involved with an NPC. It's always a nice thing to see. So, in regards to this Galactic Pursuit, is it a weekly episode? And in regards to that, is it video and audio or is it just audio?
So it's just audio right now. I plan on making it video when we get bigger, but our cast, we just don't have the time. We have to schedule everyone accordingly. Like I've got one guy from Florida, one guy from Mississippi, one guy in Kentucky, I think, and then the rest are spread out throughout Arkansas. So like coordinating with everyone is already really hard. Trying to do a video format would probably be even harder. But as for scheduling, I'm trying to make it every 2 weeks. That's the
Nice.
goal. Every 2 weeks. Right now, it's every month because that's all I can afford with my time. But as soon as we kick it into second gear, it's going to be every 2 weeks.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of commitment to like make a podcast to begin with, but I can only imagine incorporating gameplay with my podcast. That would definitely be a lot more challenging with edits and things like that. I have yet to have to edit, like truly edit like a game yet, because we started playing a little bit of a TTRPG for ours, and I've seen the difference in editing, so I can only imagine um, two different teams and everything. Like editing that audio would just be, especially if you're all recording in different places. It's got to be time consuming with your audio. What do you use to like edit your audio?
So I use a mixture of Riverside and Audacity. So I'll edit a little bit on Riverside, and then I'll transfer all the audios onto Audacity. And
Yeah,
if you've never heard of Audacity, it's a free editing software for audio.
yeah, it's definitely one I've used for a while now. I enjoy it. I love all the free like YouTubes out on it to help me with my editing. And I always recommend, that's the number one thing I recommend to people when they start getting into it, because it's so easy to like get a nice clean sound with that particular program. And the fact that it's free is just such a huge bonus.
Yeah, and I've compared my audio to a few professional audio mixers, and there's not really a difference with Audacity. Not one that I could hear anyway. I mean, even though it's free, it still gives out like really high quality audio.
Yeah, though there's definitely a lot of functionality to it and things like that. So it's interesting. Um, Now with Riverside, do you have how many players do you usually have on at a time with that going?
With my current subscription, I think a maximum is 8, but I never have all 8 on. I always record separately. So I will record with the Jedi on Fridays and then with the Bounty Hunters on Saturdays, or switch it up, or whenever everybody's free. But I never record both Bounty Hunters and Jedis on the same day until they eventually meet up.
Oh, that's gonna be wild. Um, no, that I can only imagine like trying to get that many people onto the screen at the same time and trying to coordinate all that. That'll be a grand finale to say the least.
Oh, for sure. And it looks like we might be coming up on that here soon if the Jedi's don't make a good escape in this next episode. But definitely I can see like it being a little bit difficult. But I think the way that I've set it up, it will be able to streamline it pretty well.
Nice.
I might be
Um,
even thinking about doing a live stream as well.
ooh, those are fun. Um, I'm a big fan of them because it gets more fan interaction. Not to constantly repeat that word fan, but you do get a little bit more fan interaction on there when you get the live ones out. It's interesting. So what do you do right now for your marketing for all this? Is there a particular way that you're doing it? Or are you finding anything more successful with marketing than other ways that you've done it?
With marketing, really, pretty much just like posting consistently. I noticed when I post like every day for a week, I'll get a lot of fan interaction. Whether like just posting once or twice in that week or once every other week. Um, and I'm trying to get as much fan interaction as possible. Like I'll do polls, I'll have giveaways, like the NPC giveaway and stuff like that. And I've noticed that even though it's not a lot, there's still something there.
No, that's always good. Yeah, I have learned to I keep track of my numbers really well now when I do my marketing myself. So I'm always curious to get ideas of what other people are doing, just so I can kind of see um, how different it is than my own approach to it.
Hmm. Definitely like going on Threads or Twitter or on Instagram and asking questions definitely boosts interaction for me. Every time I ask a question like, what do you guys want to see in the future? What do you want me to give away in the giveaways? What, um, who wants to be in in an episode. Those always usually get a lot of fan interaction as well. But just stuff like that, I really get a good response from those.
I did see on there that you're actually looking to get like special guests and stuff like that. So are you trying to get someone to like come in and just play an NPC, just for an episode or something like that, or what? How did you want to work your special guests?
So actually, both. Right now, I'm collaborating with the Merely Players TTRPG, and one of their players are actually going to come on my podcast, and I'm going to come on their podcast here in a bit. He will actually be playing, and he will actually be doing a scripted episode as well, like semi-scripted. On top of that, I do want fans to come in and do one-shots with us. I have some one-shots planned out for like fans or special guests to come in from other podcasts and try it out.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. The one shot idea is always good. Especially when people can play TTRPG. I find that like sometimes it's hard to get like the storyteller slash DMs. So to be offering to do that for like some special guests is pretty cool. And I'm sure a lot of fans are gonna appreciate it and really want to get involved with stuff like that.
Right now, I've actually got a one-shot plan for my Patreon, and I've got 3 or 4 of my most consistent fans who are going to be on there, and I'm probably going to put one of my players in there as well. But it's
Nice.
it's going to keep like the same style as Dice Clash Chronicles. We're actually going to have one person going against 4 different people.
That's yeah, that's intimidating, but I'm sure doable. Um, yeah, no, that's good, especially anything with fans. I find is just such a big deal. Getting them involved, but next thing with that is so with respect to like all the different things you're using and coming together. Like there's a lot of pieces to it. Um, how do you find like different microphones and things are? Do you notice like a big quality difference when people have different types of microphones, or have you been able to kind of balance out everybody's audio, regardless of its cheaper one or expensive mic, things like that?
Well, I think you can tell when it's like a super cheap microphone versus like a mediocre microphone. But after like the mediocre price, I haven't really heard a quality difference. Like I got my entire setup for $60, and that included a uh, splatter pad, a boomstick, the mic itself, and the foam, and I got that all for $60 on Amazon. But one of my cast members got, I think, like $100 mic, and I couldn't really hear that much of a difference. It could be also what he's recording with as well, but I would definitely invest in like a mediocre to a good mic. Maybe putting $40 on the table to go get a good mic.
Yeah, no, I'm an advocate for a solid mic. I think your cameras you can kind of play with a little bit. The mics you can, of course, too, but I prefer just a good mic. It just makes it a little bit easier with everything. Your computer and the rest of your setup, I find can also be a little bit normal. For me, my big like a nice big item was my mic here. I definitely went out on a limb with that.
In our first episode, though, we had people recording with all sorts of stuff. I mean, I had people recording with Apple AirPods and stuff like that, just because we were trying to get our first episode out there, and a lot of us are recording this on a budget. So, but after some editing, it really didn't sound that bad. So if you're like wanting to start a podcast for yourself, honestly, it's not really that big of an expense, I would say. I definitely haven't spent a lot of money on this, but I've spent a lot of time. The greatest expense.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus from a lot of people I've talked to, and even myself is like expense is just kind of what you can put into it when you can. Other than time is just it's your big thing. It's always, especially with it, I find editing is longer than the actual recording.
Mm.
I spend a lot more time sort of doing that than I do with the recording.
Yeah, I think I spend about 16 to 20 hours per episode editing.
Wow.
In each episode, I try to make an hour and 15 minutes or less.
Okay, so do you actually cut out some, and I don't mean this in a bad, like some of the
Mm.
more downplay boring parts type things out, or do you sort of keep it all together and just moments of silence you cut out type stuff?
All of the above, really, because when you have two different people's perspective in one episode, it's hard to get all of the good content in there and leave in the bad content, I guess I should say. Like, I mean, every time we record for an hour, and I'm like, hey, this is our limit. We can only record for an hour because I'm gonna have to cut 2 hours of audio into an hour and 15 minutes,
Yeah.
and um, it always usually ends up being around an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes. But yes, I have had to cut I want to talk to the NPC that just kind of goes on for 15 minutes and it really doesn't make an impact on the story or anything like that. But I have had to make some hard decisions as well as cutting some pretty major content out as well, which was uh, like really grinding my gears in the moment when I was editing it. But it ended up turning out all right in the end.
Yeah, that was actually gonna be my next thing is have you had moments where like you had to cut stuff out that you didn't want to cut out? Because yeah, you got to cut out about 45 minutes of content, so that would be that would definitely be difficult sometimes, I would imagine.
I would say the majority is silence though and hiccups. I edit a lot of the uhs and ands and just like filler words. And also sometimes there'll be a cough in the background or like trains and I'll cut that out.
How do you find the combat when you're doing it? Like, do you find that the combat, because I only know I haven't played Star Wars in forever, and probably the system you play is different than the one I played back in like 2002 or something. Um, with your combat, do you find you edit some of that out just to kind of speed it up? Because I know with like D&D Fifth Edition, I find it like it's fun to do the combat and you can make it real strategic, but it does kind of drag on. So I would imagine with a show with a time limit, you cut some of that out.
So I've been doing Dungeons and Dragons for like 6 years now, and I've noticed I've like picked up things on how to speed up the combat.
Okay.
So now I try to implement them into my recording, so that I don't have to do that. And I haven't had to do it yet. Maybe like I've had to edit out when a player's like describing to me their magic, like force push and pull. I blah 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 da 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 da. And well, we don't need that. That's just filler. I can cut all that out. But I
Yeah.
haven't really had to edit out any like dice rolls yet, really.
Oh, that's good then. Yeah. I definitely think experience with multiple games comes together and helps out really well when you're running any game, so it gives different views. Um, one more thing in regards to Star Wars, what's the era yours is set in? So we you got the big three eras that they've done the movies in. Um, what particular one are you running with?
So this would be like right before Rogue One.
Okay.
Uh, like Luke is still a teenager. He's not getting ready to leave Tatooine yet. Like I guess the era is the Jedi Purge is what I would say.
Okay, so right after after the High Republic and everything like that, but before A New Hope.
Yeah, to like throw a pinpoint on that. So we're 10 years after the Jedi Purge, and Darth Vader and the Emperor have almost completed the Death Star, and they've gotten so far that they're actually satisfied with their work and they're pretty relaxed and just like chilled back. They really couldn't care less if something were to happen.
Oh, nice. No, that's probably one of the more interesting times. There has not been a lot of content that I've seen between sort of the Rogue One, New Hope that I can think of off the top of my head. A lot of it is either super early or like after A New Hope. So that would probably be a fun time to play in, especially if you're a Jedi still.
Yeah, so all of our Jedi have had to escape the prison, and the Moffs who run that area, they are like, we better keep this on lockdown because if this leaks to Darth Vader, we're all screwed.
Yeah, I definitely think you'd be doing some forced chokes through FaceTime or whatever
Yeah.
they call it. um, lastly, in regards to what you're doing right now, um, I know you showed me pre-episode when we were talking, but I noticed you got some merch. Um, in regards to that particular thing that you're doing with your merch, are you doing it all like Dice Clash, or you got some Star Wars, like not obviously Star Wars merch, but Galactic Pursuit merch and everything like that going right now?
Well, I'm hoping to be able to get some like fan art in the future so I can start doing that, or maybe uh looking on Fiverr or local artists to start doing stuff like that. Right now, it's really only Dice Clash Chronicles. I do have some Galactic Pursuit stuff in there. Like, I know I have a canvas of Havoc, who's one of our players. Um, on there, I have like a space shuttle that I designed, and I have description for on there. And I also have another canvas of one of the space stations that we visit in our show. But mostly it's like t-shirts, sweatpants, basketball shorts, coffee mugs, stuff like that with our logo on it.
That's awesome. And just so everybody knows, when this episode does release on YouTube, we are gonna put all the links and stuff like that in our description, so that way anybody that's interested in checking out Dice Clash Chronicles on Instagram and stuff like that, you can go check that out. Also, put links straight to their podcast, so you can go check that out. That way, you can see who wins when it comes down to bounty hunters and Jedi's, because I'm a big advocate for someone's got to win. Um, there's never a draw. I don't know if that'll happen. It's obviously his game, but I like to think that way. And then we'll also keep people up to date. So with all the interviews that I ever do, whenever I do see new stuff coming out about their stuff, I will share it. So just keep up on our Instagram and our different feeds, and we'll keep everybody posted on anything new that comes out with Dice Clash Chronicles, and their first episode or their first season of Galactic Pursuit. All right, Judah. With that, I mean, we covered quite a bit. It's been a lot of fun. Is there anything else you want people to kind of know about your podcast or about your network going forward?
Really, just like if you want to see the conclusion, just come out and support us. Listen to our show or check out our Instagram profile and interact with our polls and stuff. Because all the interaction that we get just kind of comes back and helps feed me to put more content out and record more stuff and get fans involved in our show.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll keep throwing some stuff out there when you guys post things. I definitely enjoy the interaction. Like I said, huge Star Wars junkie, so I'll always be kind of throwing around in there. So with that, everybody, make sure you check out Crossing the Nerverse on YouTube. We'll have this video will be up. Not sure the exact date, but I'll definitely be working on it. We'll have some shorts and stuff that come out on TikTok ahead of time, and there'll definitely be some announcements before this comes out. But with that, thanks for your time, Judah. Appreciate it. It was great talking Star Wars.
Appreciate being on here.
Great talking a little bit of podcasting at the same time. Have some fun, and definitely good luck. Good luck with everything in the future. And I'm excited to see how the bounty hunter versus Jedi ends.
Thank you. I appreciate being on here.
All right, man. Have a good one. Bye.
You too.